Hi, Kathryn here with Circle Art Designs. Today on my mat, we will be working on Project 5 from the February Bargain Bead Box. This will be the last project for this bead box so that I can go on to March, because I know my April box is coming soon. But I thought today, after the bead weaving we did last week, I would do something simple but elegant. And so that is why we will be working on the filigree flower chandelier necklace and drop earrings. So let's turn our eyes to the mat. So as I turn my eyes to the mat and see this beautiful glass, it reminds me to give thanks to the Lord. And so what I want to give thanks to the Lord for today is that I have been getting to sit outside with coffee in the morning, early in the morning, but still in the morning, and it's not so cold that I have to cover up in blankets. And I have really enjoyed watching our two little dogs run and play across the yard and really enjoy the outside. And it reminds me of how light and happy their little lives are and how happy they make me. And I think that's kind of like with my father. He watches me run and play, and sometimes I run in circles and don't get anything done. And yet it makes his heart happy because he created me and he loves me. And I am so thankful for that. What about you? What are you thankful for today? All right, let's get started. So today we're going to start on the right-hand side. I've often had questions of, well, Kathryn, you don't get to use all your beads and findings before you have to go on to the next. Well, that's true because I'm really slow. But the thing is, I put it in my stash and I pull them back out. That's what we're starting with today. On the right, those beautiful little beads on the right are called 3mm labradorite faceted beads, and they are all the way from my January stash. If you got that, you will know that these were the beads they used for Pluto, and I'm going to use them in this design. Next, going down from there, from the February Bargain Bead Box, are the 3 by 3.5mm garnet micro-faceted round beads. I love these garnets, and you have to be very careful with them when you're using them because they're so delicate and they break so easily. But I'll show you a trick. Onward, across, moving towards the left, we have our 25 by 20mm 18-karat gold-plated brass filigree flower chandelier. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? This thing is gorgeous. And I have really loved working with it. I'm not sure there's any up in the sister for a Bargain Bead Box, their shop, but any chandelier to make this would work perfectly. Okay, on to the left at the bottom, again from the February Bargain Bead Box. You've seen these in some of the other projects, and you know I still have lots of them. This is your 4mm crystal faceted round turquoise green bead. Going up from there, I will be using the 2.5 by 2mm 18-karat gold plated stainless steel chain. When you go to work on this, make sure you use old wire cutters. Don't use your good ones. It will chew them up. All right, going to the middle, you see those long head pins right there. That's a 2.5-inch gold plated head pin. If you don't have gold plated, any gold color, tone, it doesn't matter. It will be beautiful. And then up at the top, again from the Bargain Bead Box for February, are these beautiful drops. These are 13 by 4mm 18-karat gold plated brass drops. and those I'm going to use for earrings. Along with this, if you look up on the left-hand corner, you will see that you will need a gold bell. You will need a clasp of your choice. Remember the clasp in the box we made a necklace with and used that beautiful piece as the pendant. And then you will need jump rings and ear wires, whatever you want to use. I'm going to use lever backs. And tools that you'll need are your cutters. Again, please don't use your good ones because you don't want them to chew. You don't want that stainless steel to chew them up. And then you will also need chain nose and your curve. I said round, but it should say curve nose pliers and a looper. That's what I will be using, or your straight nosed plier to make your loops. Okay, let's get started. So starting out with your head pins, make sure you straighten them. I straighten them as best I can, and then I play with them till I get them straight. I did not tell you, but once I started this, I decided I wanted a spacer ball on the end, and I wanted more gold in the dangle themselves. So I started out with your 3mm spacer ball, any kind of gold ball or gold seed bead that will go on the bottom of your head pin will work. Then I'm putting the labradorite faceted bead. Now, this is the deal with all these little beads. They're all about 3 to 4mm or 2.5 millimeter because they're not real consistent with the size, but pretty consistent. And they are very fragile, and getting the hole, finding the hole, and then hitting the hole, at least for me, is a big deal. So we have labradorite, garnet, and labradorite after the spacer ball. Then I put up a gold seed bead for the next. This is a 8/0 seed bead. I didn't want it to take as much room as the spacer ball did. Then I'm putting on 4 of the turquoise green crystal faceted beads. Then another gold seed bead, and then 3 of the garnets. So that is the longest of the pieces. And remember, I told you I fiddled with this some because I was going, oh, I'm having so much trouble getting these completely straight. Now the end result, I fiddled with them enough that I finally got them to where I liked them. But that's the longest of the pieces. So to recap this, for the longest of the dangles, starting at the bottom, you're going to add a 3mm gold spacer ball or a 8/0 seed bead. And that's only if you want that at the bottom of the dangle. It's not necessary. I just like the look. Then I'm going to put on a labradorite faceted bead, then one of those micro faceted garnets, and then another labradorite faceted bead, and then a 8/0 seed bead. You can be consistent in what you want. Just be aware of how much space you have on that head pin, because we still got to get a loop at the top. Next, once I have done that, I put on my 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to put on 4 of the faceted crystal round turquoise green beads. Then I'm going to put another one of the gold 8/0 seed beads and finish it off with 3 of those micro faceted garnets. And that's going to be the longest dangle. Now remember, on the chandelier, we have 6 holes. So in order to make this work out correctly, we have to make 2 of each of the dangles. So you'll need 2 of the longest, 2 of the middle, and 2 of the shortest. But let's carry on. All right, now that we've got that part done, we're going to start on the medium. And so again, just as I did the first one, I'm going to start out with that 3mm round spacer ball, and then I'm going to put on one of the labradorite round faceted beads. Now I have to tell you, I chase these beads around through the whole thing. Sorry about that, but I have a lot of trouble seeing these teeny tiny little holes, even with magnifiers on. But I love working with them because I love the delicate look of these gemstones. So on goes the labradorite. Then we're going to put on the micro-faceted garnet. And again, don't force these things. If they don't want to slide on, because there are discrepancies in the holes of these garnets, go ahead and move on to another one. I cannot tell you in my haste how many times I have broken these delicate little garnets, because garnet is my birthstone, and I love to work with them. But on goes the garnet, and then I'm looking for the hole for the labradorite. I'm going to pick it up because I've decided I'm not going to see it on the mat, and there you go. Now I will do the same thing on all of these dangles. Now this time, you know what I've done? I have forgotten to put on, and I just figured it out, on my seed bead. So this time, I'm going to only put on 3 of the faceted crystal turquoise green beads. Then I'm going to put on another of the gold 8/0s, and then I'm going to put on 2 of the garnets once we find the hole. Always looking for those teeny tiny little holes. Now I only had about 5 of the garnets that would not fit on my head pins, but I still have a lot of garnets in my pouch that I will be using in other projects. If I'm bead weaving, it's not a problem, but with the head pins, it can be a problem. You just have to be real careful. You can't get your head pin too thin, or you won't be able to keep them from bending everywhere, but you can't get it too thick either. So let me put on a picture. So again, for this middle dangle, starting at the bottom, we're going to put the 3mm spacer ball or your 8/0 seed bead, then the labradorite faceted bead, the micro garnet, the labradorite faceted bead, an 8/0 seed bead, 3 crystal faceted turquoise green beads, your 8/0 seed bead, and then 2 garnets. Remember, don't force them, any of these, but especially the garnets and the labradorites. If they don't want to go on, just take it off and change out the bead. Or it could be the gold-plated head pin. I have also changed them out and had the beads go on the next one just perfectly. Onward. So now we're going to be working on the smallest of the dangles. And just like the previous ones, we will start with that 3mm. Then we will go to the labradorite, then the garnet, and then the labradorite again, and end with an 8/0. And I had to try 2 beads before I got one on. Sorry about that. But that's where we are. These are so worth the time and effort it takes to work with them. But you know what I did after I did all that? I forgot to put that 3mm spacer ball on. I went, oh no, I've got to take it off and find all those little holes again. But 3mm, labradorite, garnet, and labradorite. Now, I set that garnet down that I had just got on this piece because I could not get it back on again. And then I remembered Sometimes the hole is slightly bigger on one end than it is on the other. And if you start on the big end, a lot of time it will go ahead and go on the head pin. Now, once I have got that 8/0 seed bead on, I put 2 of the green turquoise on, and then I put on another of the 8/0 seed beads, and I am working with a little hole. I'm saying, oh, come on, one of these has got to fit. There you go. And that is the smallest of the dangles. Now, recapping for this last dangle, I didn't put any notes on, but what you're doing is the way we started all of them, which is the 3mm spacer, the labradorite, the garnet, the labradorite, the 8/0 seed bead, then 2 of your turquoise green crystal faceted beads, an 8/0 seed bead, and 1 of the micro garnets. And this is how we will build it from the middle out or from the end to the middle. Then, starting in the middle, we're going to do it again. So you will need 2 of each of these dangles. While we're moving on to the looper, would you take a moment and like this video and leave a comment? And if you haven't subscribed already to our channel, would you please subscribe? That would be amazing. Thank you so much. Sorry, I talked over the looper, but we're going to do it again. Now, once you get your piece out of the looper, you're going to use your round nose pliers and go ahead and pull that loop all the way down to it touches the head pin. And then you're going to take your curved nose and go ahead and close that up. Make sure it's really closed and straighten it. Make sure it's sitting right over. Now, for the looper, you put it all the way through if you have enough to the little hole across, mash the jaws, and push it back, and that will make a question mark. Then the same way again, you're going to use your straight nose and close the loop, and then your curve to stop it. Okay, let's do this again. So putting the head pin between the jaws of the looper, you're going to put your fingernail over that garnet. There, I slipped it right there. Mash it. It'll be straight. Then push it down a little bit, and it will make that beautiful little question mark. Once you have that, take your straight nose pliers, push the wire to the head pin. Make sure it's sitting right over the dangle. It's straight and it's closed. If it's not closed, use your curved nose pliers and close it up. And there you have the first 3 ready. Now we will go ahead and make the other side. And I'll meet you in just a moment. And we are back. So we've got all the dangles ready to go on to the pendant. And now I'm taking and looking at the different bells I have. This is the one I have chosen. It's a little ornate. I like that, but it's smaller. All my bells are really big, and I'm using this beautiful 18 karat gold chain on it. And I want to keep the delicacy of this piece. So I've pulled out some 4mm ovals, jump rings. I like these because the slit is on the side and it's harder for them to open and things to slide off of them. But I also have some 3mm rounds. Now the thing I don't want to do is I don't want to add any bulk to this pendant, because it's such a delicate little thing. And do you use delicacy in that way? I may have just made that up. But the point is, it's very delicate and it's beautiful. So as you see this, the right side had the round and the left side had the oval. and I went ahead and went with the 3mm round. I think it will keep the flow of the pendant really light and airy and delicate. Okay, start. Sorry, I have a little dog that insists on barking in the background. He wants someone to let him in. All right, so we will be using curved nose and chain nose pliers on this. Now, some of the time I forget to turn my curved nose backwards because that's the way it works best for me. And when I use it forward, just using the tips like this, I have a tendency to drop it a lot and make them fly across the room. But I've opened it up with a twist of the wrist. Always twist one wrist, hold the other one stable, and open your jump rings. Then putting on the jump ring to the opening to the back of the pendant, because you want your opening on the back of your pendant. Go ahead and put it on the pendant and then add your dangle. Make sure it's closed. Use your finger to feel along that closure. If you do not have it sealed properly, it will be rough. And you want it to seal properly because you don't want your piece to come apart. And that's what I'm doing here. This particular jump ring is just slightly off whenever they made it, and so you kind of have to pull it up and make it meet itself. Again, using 2 sets of pliers, you're going to hold it, twist the wrist, then put the opening on the back of your pendant. That's really important because you want your openings not to show. Then we're putting a medium one on. I am building from the side out. So we put the small one on, and then we put the medium. I'm making sure that I've got this on correctly. It looks like I do. Did I get this right? Yes, I did. Now, isn't that pretty? It's already looking pretty. Again, you get lots of practice. You're going to open it up with a twist of the wrist. Put the opening on facing the back sides together on your pendant, and then put your dangle. Feel it with your finger. Make sure you've closed it. Now, you may have amazing eyes, but I don't. And even when I think my eyes tell me it's closed, my finger never lies. So I always feel it. And that's the way the first 3 are going to look. And then we're going to put on the other side. And through the magic of the camera, there it is, the other side already on. I continued to build towards the outside and got them all on. I made sure the backs were on the back and not on the front. So now I'm going to open up this same jump ring. And with the twist of the wrist, I'm going to attach, you forgot, Kathryn, going to attach the pendant first. And then I'm going to look at this jump ring and see which side, the bell, and see which side I want to be the front. Now, if you notice, I'm putting it on to the back. So whatever you want to be the front of the bell, you need to be looking at you, because I want my opening to be in the back of my pendant, and I want the pretty side of the bell to be up. So it was looking at me when I put it onto the jump ring. And there you have it. Now then we're just going to, I have cut this chainless steel. Is that right? And I have made it 24 inches because I like long necklaces. I do not like anything that is choking my neck. So I always make long ones. If you buy something from my shop, it's always going to be a minimum of 22, 23 inches. Now then, I went with a lobster claw clasp. I have opened up a jump ring. I have put the lobster claw clasp on the jump ring, making sure that it's closed. Now, before you get that lobster claw clasp on, boy, that's a mouthful today. You're going to want to make sure the clasp works. I buy mine in bulk, and 99% of them work fine, but every now and then I get one that says, no, I'm not going to open, or no, I'm not going to close, and you can't make me. So always check them. Again, I've opened up that jump ring. These are 5mm jump rings because I want the back to be able for easy closure. If I put those little bitty ones on the back, I think it would be hard, at least for me, to close. So I assume everybody has my issues. And although it's laying crooked, that was the necklace. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the earrings. This also is from the February Bargain Bead Box. I love these drops. They are gorgeous. They are 18 karat gold plated. I'm pulling out 6 of the head pins to make the dangle. Now, if you notice, these drops have quite a separation from one side to the other in the length of the holes, or where the holes are located. So I will do exactly the same dangle for each of the openings. I'm going to go ahead and use the turquoise green faceted. I'm going to use some of the labradorite, and I'm also going to use those micro garnets. I'll get it right. So I'm starting off with a 3mm. Then I'm going to the labradorite, and I have to tell you, my hands are beginning to shake more than they normally do. And so I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to go ahead and after the labradorite, I'm going to put on one of the, now see, did you see that one didn't fit? And I believe, I'm sorry, I cut myself off twice in the middle of a sentence. So I had to change out the little garnet, and in fact what I ended up doing is changing out the head pin right there because there was a little lump in it that it wouldn't go over. So it's the same bottom that we put on all the dangles for the pendant itself, labradorite, garnet, labradorite. So I'm putting on a gold 8/0 seed bead. I'm putting on 3 of the turquoise. No, I guess I'm putting on 2 of the turquoise. And then I'm going to put on a gold seed bead, and then I'm going to go ahead and put on the garnet. And that's the length that it would give. And I'm going to do that for all of them, but I'm going to go ahead and just do one on camera. So again, we're starting with the 8/0. Then we're going to the labradorite. I keep thinking if I could just put it on the mat, I could find the hole. But that is not true. If you have a secret to finding these holes that doesn't involve a new pair of eyes, a new pair of glasses, or stronger magnifiers, I would like to know what they are. And I went ahead and I got the labradorite on, and now I'm going to get the garnet on, and then another labradorite. They're so pretty. I have to tell you though, the first time I saw these teeny tiny little things come in a bead box, I just put it to the stash immediately and went, oh, I don't know what I'm ever going to do with that. But you know, I have learned to really love them, for they are so delicate and light and beautiful. These are gorgeous gemstones. Okay, so just like the other one, we put on the 8/0, and then we put on 2 of the turquoise, and then we're going to put on another garnet. So we are repeating that pattern over and over again, all the way around these earrings, and it will make a long, beautiful, elegant looking dangle with that 18 karat gold and the beautiful gemstones. It's going to be a beautiful piece. I thought I was going to put these on the studs, but I decided against it because I decided that it would keep the swing from happening in the drop, because it would lay up against your ear if I put it on the studs. So I went ahead and pulled lever backs for these. And I'm just filling in till my fingers can find the garnet. There you go. And then the labradorite is on. Then we're going to put the 8-0 and then 2 of your turquoise greens and then the last garnet. And you go, you've done a lot off camera for this one. And you're right. Because I decided you didn't need to see me struggle finding the holes for this. And it would, 40 minutes, an hour would not have been enough for me to have filmed the whole thing and put it on for you to see. Watch me try to find the holes on these little bitty beads. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. We're going to take our loopers. Now, remember, this is really important, and I think I show it here better. I have completely covered that garnet with my thumbnail, and then I go ahead and put it in the looper and close the jaws. Then, in seed beads, you do the same. Any little bead, especially that might get caught in the jaws of that looper, use your fingernail or the tip of your thumb. You want to cover it. And that's what I'm showing you here. I am covering that bead so that my thumb or my fingernail will go, oh, wait, you're too close. And I'll back off some. And then once I've got them done, I'm going to straighten them out. I'm going to head and close them just like we did the others. Just like that. You know, when you use your loopers, it comes out straight from the jaws. But before you take it off, if you will just barely push it backwards slightly, it makes this lovely, lovely question mark. And then once it's made the question mark, it's easy for you to take the loop and bring it on around to touch your head pin. And that loop will end up then being right over the middle of your dangle. When I first started, I know I've told this story, but when I first started using the looper, all my dangles laid whopper gaggled, and I couldn't figure out why. But it was because I wasn't paying attention and keeping that loop right over the center of my dangle. So now then I've taken the 3 millimeter jump rings, just like I used with the pendant. I'm putting the jump ring onto the back of the earring again because I want the closure to be in back. Then I'm putting on my dangle and feeling it with my finger to make sure I have got that closed. And then I will go on to the next one. Let's open that up. Now see, now I'm holding it in the correct way for me. You can hold it however you want. But if I don't hold my curved nose backwards so that it helps give me a little more room in these teeny tiny little jump rings, I will fly it across the room every time. So this one I went to put it on and I went, now wait a minute, I don't think I got that closed. So, or I didn't get it straight or something. So I've already opened up the jump ring. I am putting on, which one's the back? Oh, that's the back. Okay, putting it on the back, then putting on the dangle, and then closing it up. And remember, always set a pattern. If you open your jump rings and you put on your drop first and then your dangle, then do your drop first and then your dangle on all of your jump rings. Consistency gives you a consistent look. And, you know, I've heard people say, oh, it doesn't matter which way you do it. They're all going to hang the same, but they don't. They really don't. I don't know why, but I have, at least for me, maybe you can put them on any way you want to, but at least for me, if I am not consistent with the order in which I put my pieces together, I get an inconsistent look. Maybe not every time, but often enough that it makes me slightly crazy. So there is that earring. It's all together and it's ready for us to put on the top. And here are the lever backs I have decided to go with. I'm going to head and complete one of these for you. And again, we're using those same 3mm jump rings so that I don't give a lot of extra weight to this ring or length to this earring. Then I put on my earring first and then my lever back, making sure the top of the lever back was looking at me. So when I lay it down, the top will be on the top of my ear. And here's the one we just made. And here's the one I finished. Isn't that lovely? They just are so delicate. And then this, here we go. And this is the finished set, and I think that is gorgeous. Isn't that pretty? Even whenever I get the dangles kind of spread out because I'm holding it to the side, I think that's lovely. I want to thank you again for joining me on this beading adventure today. I hope you've had a good time. I have had an amazing time. I'm finally feeling better this week and a little more energy. And I'm putting pictures at the back here for you to see the finished piece. It will be up in the shop at circleartdesigns.net. I really have had a wonderful, joyous time. I pray you have too. And I pray you have an amazing beading adventure of your own this week. God bless you and keep you, and I'll see you later in the week. Kathryn, circleartdesigns.net. God bless y'all.